right then, brother.
Let's get into it. What's going on?
Yes,
Friday
sir.
morning.
It's Friday morning. You know, we're here in Woodland Hills.
Another day in Woodland Hills.
Another day in Woodland Hills, brother. I want to talk to you about a couple things today.
Okay, let's get it.
I think the big topic that I had in my mind this morning was intent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what is intention? What is an intent to do things? How do you create that intention in your mind or in your heart to be able to want to say you want to do these certain things? You know, I think God brings down messages for us.
Mm-hmm.
Or you said sometimes ideas aren't brought to you by yourself, it's brought to you by a higher power.
Right.
And I kind of want to iterate on that. You know, what is intent? Where do you get your intention from? Or
I think
what does that mean?
Intent isn't like what. So the reason why I brought up intent, like in all our meetings, right, in our earlier meetings this month, it really came down to goal setting, right, like achieving goals. And what I've come to realize is most people have this vision or their goal or dreams or aspirations, and that's all it is, though. It ends there, right? But the reason why like intent was such a big topic for me within the last 30 days, right, was because I think earlier I was stuck on needing things to be perfect, right? Like in the very beginning, I struggled with delegating. I struggled with making progress quicker because I was so stuck on like making sure things were perfect, right? And then it hit me where I was reading, and it came down to the perfection isn't the result; it's the intention behind what you're trying to achieve, right? And so when you talk about intent, it can go in any direction, but it really comes down to: are you trying to are you doing this thing because you want to be recognized or like rewarded, or are you doing these things because it matters to you, right? And I think a lot of people, like I just posted this the other day where I said, like, if you actually tried and stopped doing it for recognition, you might actually achieve something, right? And I think when you have the proper intention, and that can be something as simple as sales, right? We say if your intention behind this sale is making sure that you're helping or serving the customer or client, it's a much easier sale, one, but you actually get the result because now the intention behind this conversation it's a transaction. When I close you, I make money. It's if I can help you and serve your needs, I get a reward from it too, right? And that was the topic for the last couple meetings of like diving deeper into it. But I think that's where most people they need to figure that out. It's not about like where it comes from or so on. I think when you have that switch of like, I'm doing things for this purpose, that's your intention. What is the intention behind it? We talk about people who have like ill intent or they're malicious or whatever the case is. There's intent behind it, right? So my thing is, the intent that I have is I have somewhere to go. It's a long way, but I'm gonna get there, right? And it's not through, and it's through my intention. It's not through me talking about dreams and goals and so on and so forth. Of course, it is, but it's how I act on that, right? And I think the better your intention is, or the more focused you are, then then it kind of just aligns itself with your goals and such. But
you know, I think our friend Cameron one time said this really clearly to me, and it kind of stuck in my head when we played golf, was you need to know why you're doing it, and then you need to know why or where your heart is in that situation. Like, is it for the right reason, or are you doing it to get let's say a step in a one up on somebody, you know? And I think intent starts at the heart, you know. It starts in your heart, and then it goes into your mind, and then it takes over, you know.
Yeah, it's funny how everything like connects it feels like obviously as you go through life, you realize like everything almost connects, big picture or full circle. But that even comes down to like relationships. Like what are you trying to build this relation, or not? I guess build a relationship is a little bit different, but what do you want from this person? What is your intent behind, hey, I want to meet this person for what? Is it to make like, is it for your one leg up, like, okay, I have another person that I can use or whatever the case is, or is it actually to try to be friends with that person, right? And there was there was a book that I read, and it talks about how do you serve that person, right? And so this is something that I started to apply early on in like 2002, give or take, so not too long ago, but that's when I learned it. And it's always been like, hey, how do I serve you? What can I do to serve you? Rather than, hey, this is what I need, right? Because a lot of times, like, I've felt like that where I was a transaction. Someone came to me and was like, cool, next time, like, hey, you think you can help me with this? Or, hey, I have this business idea and I need some. And I'm like, I don't know you. You get what I'm saying? And what he said is true. Like, you can almost tell too when someone enters your life, like, what are they in it for? It's not easy to tell, I'm saying, but as you get to understand the person little by little, you'll come to realize, like, hey, he is a good person. Which is why like, anytime I compliment something, I always say, like, hey, Ryan, he's a great human being. Like, you get me? That's really, I think, my highest compliment, rather than smart or this or that. It's just, hey, he's a good human being. He's good people. That's who I want to be around. Mm-hmm. Rather than, well, this guy came into my life. Like, we talked about roofers that have messed with us and so on. Where in the very beginning he's like, hey, sir, I'm this and that. Hey, and I was always like, why are you calling me sir? You know. And he was putting up this front of like respect and so on. And it turns out he had none of that. Right. And again, it was something where we learned, but. Yeah, it is important to understand. Like, I know if I could have known, I think that would help solve a lot of people's problems, is if I knew when he walked into the door, well, this is what he's after. We would have never worked with him.
In the moment, you kind of don't realize it, though. You know, you're kind of just playing it by ear. You're going with it. You're trying to fill out the energy with people. I think you understand people better when you understand yourself. You know, you're able to judge their character based off your own character, because you're able to see the world in a good perspective. You know, you're able to see the good in people and the good in yourself. And then when somebody random walks in through the door, you kind of get a sense of the energy switch, you know? Yeah.
So that what you just said, I kind of agree with, right? About like, when you understand yourself, you understand other people. In the very beginning, it's like, again, like this, it sounds almost like I'm talking highly of myself, but it's not. It's like, I knew that I was a good human being, right? And like, I would never do this or I would never do that. There were morals that I had, right? And so knowing that, whenever people didn't do that, it was a shock. It was like, what are you doing, right? So when you say, like, when you know yourself, you know other people, I didn't understand. I don't necessarily agree with, because if I'm this way, right, and this is what's normal to me, well, then everyone else should be this way. Right. But then I've also learned to not judge, well, this person did it, so I have to, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not like handing things out and just, hey, you know, whatever anyone says, I'm giving it to them. But it's still, what I've learned is, like, just because one person screwed something up for me or did something wrong to me, I'm not going to hold that against other people. So right now my thing is, because I know who I am and what I want to do for people, right? I just want a relationship first, right? And that's why for me it's like, hey, before we, we have had meetings over such and such, and I'm always the person that's like, well, I want to, if I don't know you very well, I want to meet you, right? I don't really want to sit and be like, okay, well, cool, we got this taken care of. It was very, I would like to break bread with you. I want to understand the dynamic of how you operate independently as a human being, rather than, you know, business. Because I've met some guys who are great at business, but not the best people, right? But to the other side of the thing, I do believe it's true, where if you do understand who you are and what your character is like, it's much easier to attract that too.
That was deep right there. I think perfection is not what did we say last time? Perfection is not the result, it's the intention.
Yeah.
You know, it's why you do it. It's a motive, it's the fuel, it's the purpose, it's the drive, it's everything in between and much, much more. You know, we wake up early every day, and what's the intention behind it? I want to be better.
Right.
I want to make a statement. Maybe not to others, but to myself at least, you know?
Yeah, and to me, when I said that, again, when I talk about perfection is not the result, it's the intention. I relate it back to how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I read a book, it stuck with me, right? Good enough never is. Or the term is good enough usually never is. And I used to catch myself saying, it's good enough. Like, it's fine, let's go. And I realized that's cutting corners. Where you can talk about as simple as making your bed. Little things where you're just throwing shit over and you're like, okay, that's fine, that's good enough. Or you see a proposal come through that you need to send out, where it's like, that's good enough. Or now if you see me, I'm like, dude, when I see like proposals that were sent, I'm like, that could have been better. Like, you could have fixed this. This kind of looks weird. And I'm like nitpicking now. And it's kind of finding the balance between like super OCD or like, because I understand nothing's going to be perfect, right? But it's balancing that, well, I need it perfect, where you're delaying that, where versus on the other side of that coin, where that's fine or whatever, just push it through, right? When you realize that what you're trying to accomplish, whether it be a sale, building a proposal, making your bed, or whatever this case is, it's making sure you're doing it to the best of your ability and making sure it's done with the proper intention. And the intention should be, I want it done as best as I can, right?
You know, Kobe Bryant, I was listening to his a podcast he had with Jay Shetty this morning, and he said, your intent must be there. My intent is obsessiveness. I obsess over the things that I'm going to do because it's keeping myself accountable. Mm-hmm. It's non-negotiating. He said that there'd be days where he'd feel like his knee or his ankle would be too swollen, but he had promised himself that he was going to hit the gym and go for 100 shots that day.
Right.
And he thought to himself one day, well, damn, I've already done 100 shots 1,000,000 times.
Yeah.
I might be good today. And he said, no, that intent is so important, because you allow the non-negotiables to really hit in, to hone in, to not negotiate with the little voice in your head that tells you no, or maybe tomorrow, you know?
Yeah.
And that's where the intent comes. You know, I think that's very important, to keep your intentions in alignment with your goals.
I think even that too, beyond that, I think that ties in with like your work ethic and just being able to have the discipline to push through when you talk about a swollen knee or such and such, right? But the way that I viewed intensity was like, I caught myself where people used to say like the gym is such a great place to network. You know, you hear, go to this high-end gym because you can network. Don't get me wrong, sure, right? But I catch myself almost isolating at the gym. Like, I don't like when people come up and like want to, like, I have my headphones on, and usually for the most part, if you come up and try to say something, I'm just like, good. And I don't talk. I'm just like, yes. And if I'm not trying to be rude, but like if I need to, I'll take my headphones off. But when I know, I try to keep it as quick as I can. Like, good, this is it. You know, I'll do something like that. Right. But, and it's because if you notice, like the way that like I gym and stuff, it's not 3 hours where you talk about people spending 3 hours at the gym. My workouts are usually 45 minutes to an hour. And then if we incorporate cardio, it's maybe a little bit longer. But besides that, like we have like a game plan, which is also the intention or intensity. Like I have the intention, me here, is to get this job done and leave. Right? Does that mean I had the best perfect gym session? No, I didn't, right? But I had a damn good one. And now it's, let's move on to the next one. Like, there's some time and place where I'm just like, come on, right? But I do think that's what a lot of people really need to understand, or especially when they're chasing a goal, right? When I talk about success, and I'm using success as such a broad term because it doesn't always have to mean financially, right? But if you were intentional about pursuing that goal, right, it would mean like, okay, well, swollen knee, let's still get up. Had a bad day, let's still get up. I'm like the conversation of like, hey, showing up is half the battle. Have you ever heard that? I would always tell people, showing up is not half the battle. That's not any battle. It takes no skill to show up. And I think that's where I really, when I first started in this business, where I was able to like really leverage that. I would have people who've been in the industry for a year, 2 years, asking me, how did I do it? And I've only been in the industry for 6 months, 9 months. And I would tell them all the time, like, you understand that showing up is not hard. It's all you have to do is get up and come. And when you're here, you're already here. Let's do something, right? And it's the same thing as like waking up early or when you get an alarm. First alarm, get up. It's hard, sure, but it's like, now you're up. Do something. You get me? And then you have those guys that are like, dude, I woke up at 5. What? You were in bed till 7. Well, I was up at 5. No, you weren't. Right? What's the intention of you waking up? To say that I woke up at 5? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you have people like that where it's like, dude, I was up before you. No, you weren't. And if you were, great. But it's that conversation, right? And I think that the more that the people understand that it's not that feel good of, hey, at least you showed up today. That's your job. Show whatever it is you're doing, show up. It requires literally no skill. No, you don't have to have the aptitude for anything to just show up and be there. Now the intention is, when you're there, can I make something happen? Can I make some progress? Where you have guys that just say, at least I showed up. So then you come to understand, like, who are you competing with? If you come, right? Let's say you're coming into this industry and you have the guy that's like, at least I showed up, and the guy that's, I showed up and now I'm going to make something, or I'm going to produce, or be intentional about it. What is the percentage of like how many people there are in this group and in this group? And for the most part, in any industry, in anything in life, this is why I say it's so easy right now, is because you're competing with people like this, saying, hey, showing up, I just showed up. Good job. Like the perfect attendance. That was your job. Right? And I was that kid who always got perfect attendance, but I didn't have a choice. Whether I was sick or not, my mom worked and so on. No one could watch me. I had to go to school. But then I would see people, like, I would get awards for it, right? As a little kid. And of course you're like, oh crap, like I got something. But when you look back at it, you just showed up.
What did you do in that moment, though? You know,
exactly.
That's the important part.
It's what you do in that moment, and that's when you come to realize that's who you're competing against, and then you come to realize the competition is not that hard. The competition is not that hard when you see that people want trophies for second place, when they want, hey, at least I participated, right? And that's why I told you, like, it's. Dude, you're competing against people that are so distracted, that want recognition. I don't give a shit for the recognition. I just want to make sure we reach this goal, right? You can, and for the most part, this is new to us. Like, in anything you see in the company, I'm never really like the face of it. I'm not the one saying this is what it is and so on and so forth. Like, I'm not, hey, it was the team, we did it, and I'm in the back working. And that's fine with me. I don't care to be recognized. But as long as we can get this goal, great, we're on the right track. And that's what it is for me.
How do you set your intentions? What is your intent in the day? Let's say you wake up. What is your intentions? How does that look like?
The intention behind like my day to day.
Your day to day, your life, your journey up till now.
Well, I think success is what I'm chasing after, right? And I've come to realize success is it's a moving needle. It's you have like you want to get here, and as you get closer, it keeps moving. So I've come to realize that success or winning or whatever it is, it's something that you're never going to settle for, which is the same reason why if you look at athletes like Brady or Jordan or Kobe or whoever it is, you'll see that they're training with a level of intensity to get to this point, but they're never settling or content, right? And so for me, my day to day is just making sure, can I make something of today, right? And again, that doesn't always mean like I landed a super mega deal today every day. It doesn't work like that. But if I can operate where I am better than yesterday, I know more than yesterday, or it's that like it's the reps. I just want to get my reps in, and I've come to understand that the intention behind it is let's not just show up. Let's get our reps in to get better, whether it's to be a better leader or to be more effective at communicating or getting or working on the bigger deals or whatever the case is, right? But it's the same thing for me always, and it's just to make sure that, hey, I'm better than yesterday, right? And I know that sounds cliche or corny or whatever the case is, but that is the truth. It's every time that I've gained more and more quote-unquote success, it always seems like, okay, well, now it's what I want is more than that now. And I get closer to it, now it's more than that now, right? And I'm going to find you a notebook that I put where, like, little things like, I want my first 10 grand month. That's what most people's, in business at least, or in some level of financial success, they talk about, hey, I want my first 10K month or whatever the case is. And that grew for me, right? And I talked about it last time where I'm not the same person as I was a year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but being able to like achieve that and then now realize, well, the goal shifted, the goal moved up, right? And as long as I know I'm making that progress, I'm good.
I think that's part of being aggressive. I think with the proper intent, with the proper mentality, you're able to attack tasks more viciously.
Right.
You're able to wake up faster on the first ring. You're able to go and wash your dishes when they need to be done.
Right.
You're able to be a better person, when your intentions are aligned, when your intentions aren't on the right goal or on the right focus,
Right.
As of recent, I've been, trying to intensify my life in every aspect of it, like whether it be washing my car or running or, being a better brother or a better son. I'm doing things with more intent because I'm thinking about it deeper. I'm forced to think deeper, and because I'm thinking deeper, I'm acting at a harder rate. The other day I didn't want to wash my car or none of my stuff during the week, and I was dog tired after running. And I was like, you know what? I told myself I had needed to do this.
Yeah.
So I just attacked. There was no negotiations. I couldn't negotiate because I knew I needed to do that. I wanted to do that. And when you're...
Well, let's be honest, you didn't want to do it. It's because you knew you needed to.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I knew I needed to. So you're right. There it is. It's the perspective now. It's the mental perspective. We need to focus in and switch that switch, because sometimes we word things and our brain starts to believe these things. I heard one time where they said that once you quit once, it's easier for you to quit again and again and again, because our body, without us knowing, starts adapting to that reaction.
Right.
It starts accepting that reaction to something tough happening in our lives.
So you think about what you just said. If you quit once, it becomes easier to quit again. What about winning? If you win once, doesn't it become easier to win again? It's true as both. I mean, both is true, right? Where everyone talks about, hey, which is true. It's a good mindset, because if you do quit once, it is easier. It's the same thing. Like, You want to talk about habits? Well, you started doing drugs. Is it not easier to do the next worst drug? But if you just don't do it to begin with, right, and you draw that line of, hey, I'm going to wash this car no matter what today, right? It's the same thing. And so what I've come to realize is when you're so fixated on these losses or quote unquote losses, and you think, oh crap, everything's not working out for me, then of course it's going to be easier to make the next bad decision, right? But it comes to repetition. It's always repetition. You keep quitting, you're repping out quitting. So of course it's going to be easier. When you talk about running, when you talk about lifting, winning, it's the same thing. If you continue to do it, it gets easier, right? And now winning is something that you're going to chase consistently or constantly, but it's followed up with a sense of pride of knowing like, okay, let's do it. So you're chasing it again. So when you get one win, isn't it easier to get the next win? That's momentum. It's the same thing. You quit once, you're building momentum on the quit. So if you just think about it in the inverse of, okay, well, if I can just have this one win, it's easier to win the next thing. That's why they talk about making your bed. That's your first win. Let's go to the next one. And let's go to the next one. And so when you build that habit through reps, you come to realize that it's not that hard. And through that continuous rep or these continuous reps, you land bigger and bigger or more rewarding wins. You get me? And that's what it came down to for me. That's not something that I realized in that moment, but it was more so like being able to stack, right? They always say it's hard to make your first 100,000, but it's like easier to make it's easier to make the million than it is to make the 100,000. Or you've heard something along that term, right?
Yeah. But
it's because now you've stacked enough, right? Where in the very beginning, like I talk about it, where I had $1,600 in my bank account and it seemed like it would never grow. But when I started to have the intention of this is what I'm after, let's grow it, it became easier and easier and easier to stack. And now you have a goal that you've met. It's that much easier.
It starts to hit home, you know. Damn, that was tough. That was deep, you know. Once you start winning, your mentality starts switching. I mean, winning could come in all forms.
Right.
Winning comes in all forms. Like you said, making your bed, reading that book you need to read at the end of the day.
Right.
You might be tired, but we got to read that chapter.
Right.
Yeah, wins add up. Add up, and it makes a difference in your life.
It does. And so like when we talked about it, you saw one of the guys came in just to have that conversation with me. And he talks about how he started 75 hard. And he's like, yeah, I know it's stupid. And I was like, how is that stupid? But I understood why I brought that up was because I know that it's a tool that I used to really like strengthen my mind. And it's also helped me build not just the business, but like me as an individual and so on. Right. But I had this conversation with him where you heard it, where I told him, hey, when I first started, people thought it was stupid because I started right before, like a week before the new year. And it was something where not everybody at that time was like understanding that madness, right? Because that's when not a lot of people, I'm sure it's still huge, right?
You looked crazy, man, waking up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I would look at the stories and I'd be like, man, this man at it again.
Yeah. But that's where I knew like in that New Year's party, I was the only one sitting and I was sober by myself, just really by myself. And everyone would come up to me like, why aren't you drinking? I'm like, oh, I'm doing this challenge. Like, really? What is that? Right. And I could see it in their face where it's like, what the hell? That's dumb. But as the years progress, you see more and more people doing it, even people we know doing it. And now he's at that point in his life where he's surrounded by people who may not be understanding of, you know, like this is going to help you grow, which is why even himself, he's like, I know it's dumb. And I'm like, that's not stupid. Push after it. Make it harder, I told him. Right. But it's during that, you'll come to realize like, hey, I'm tired as hell, but I still have to read, or I still have to do this workout, or I still have to drink my water, or I still have to do whatever it is. And I always say confidence comes from you doing what you said you're going to do. And through those repetitions of continuously doing things you said you were going to do is what allows you to become that person you're trying to become. And when you look at the person that's you're inspired by, or you want to be mentored by, or whatever the case is, you come to realize like, hey, he has a lot of confidence, or she has a lot of confidence. And where did that come from? It came from the truth of, I did what I said I was going to do.
I want to read you a quote. I think this was in our class. What was it, yesterday or the day before?
Uh-huh.
And he mentioned confidence comes from knowing you gave it your all and stacking those small wins.
Yeah.
And that's perfect, bro, because sometimes we don't have the confidence to keep going. Sometimes we don't know, like what we're going to do next. But, hey, you finished yesterday. You knocked down all those tasks on 75 hard. You took your picture. You ate your meals. You drank your water. Those are small wins, and people don't see them.
Right.
But they stack up, and that's how the confidence is built. Like, you may not have the full confidence at the moment to, let's say, go and give it 100%, but hey, you knew you finished your tasks, and that's how you start.
Right. And if you do this, right, if you applied that level of consistency, right, and that discipline, and you did it with intent, holy crap, right? And that's what it was for me. It was like, hey, I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm going to have a good workout. And again, not every workout is equal, sure, right? Some are harder, some are worse. But what I said, I have proof of this with my very first time on 75 hard. I had somebody go to the gym with me every day, and it's because he reached out and was like, hey, I'm going to show up. Wherever you're going, I'm going to show up. So he drove like 20 miles every morning just to meet me at the gym I go to, right? And I saw him about 6 months ago, and he's like, do you remember that? Those were the best workouts, and we had a great workout every day. And I was like, it's true though. Like, we followed the plan to the T, where it wasn't enough that I'm here at the gym working out. The intent was, let's grow, let's pump. So it's like, and if you see the difference of what I looked like before and after, it's huge. And people are always like, you took something. And I can proudly just be like, no, I didn't take anything. But it was because how much intent I had during that process of like, okay, well, this is not just mental. Like, everyone thinks that 75 hard is a physical challenge. But it was during that time where I was like, hey, let's pump. Like, let's push heavy. Let's push heavy and many reps over and over and over. And because there were times where I've done it before where I did something and I was like, I half-assed it. I'm going to do it again. And that was a mental battle that I had. So I did something in the morning, and then throughout the day I was like, fuck, I should have went harder. And that ate at me. Again. And then towards the end of the night, I'm like, am I going to settle like this, or am I going to redo it so I know, fuck it, I did it? Right? That's intention.
That's non-negotiating right there, brother. That's sticking to it and holding yourself beyond accountable, And it's tough. It's tough, but it's possible. Anything, it's possible. You just got to put your intention where it belongs. Put your intention where it needs to be.
It's what you're after. That's what it comes down to. What are you after? And let's be honest, nobody says, like, I just want to be decent. We always say, like, hey, I want to be great. Like, especially as a kid, you come to realize that your goals and, like, all of that gets diluted because of what you think life threw at you. But as a kid, when you don't really know what's going on, this is why I always say that innate will to win. As a kid, what are your goals? It's something where no one's gonna say, oh, that's stupid, right? 75 hard. That's like, they're always like, well, I want to be an astronaut, or then I'm going to be a soccer player, or whatever it is, and so on and so forth. But you come to an age where it's like, you say that and you're like, that's not real. Right.
And it's crazy. We put those limits on ourselves. Like, how as a kid we thought we were gonna be the world's best soccer player.
Yeah.
And then you grow up and you hear all these stories from all your friends or whatever, and they tell you, man, that's never gonna happen. We limited ourselves without even knowing it. What if we gave it the shot?
Yeah. And so my thing is like, I do believe the more you say things, the more I mean, it becomes, right? We talk about that form of like manifesting and so on, but you have to follow it up with action. And you have to. But the reality is, the more you say something that you are or that you're going to be, it becomes true, followed up by action, right? And so most people, like when I talked about it earlier, like in the beginning of this conversation, was people have dreams, goals, that's where it ends. Because there is no action that follows up with it. And the part is that people start with this action, right? They have this goal. They take that first leap into, well, now there's action behind it. And then the first obstacle hits. The second obstacle comes their way and they're like, oh, crap, harder than I thought.
You know, I think you don't obsess over it, or you don't care as much for these things because you truly don't care for them. If it really meant everything to you, you would attack it like it was your last day.
That is so true. That is so true, because if you cared, right? If you cared, you would give everything you got in anything. Like, I remember as a little kid, my thing was like, you know, you color in between. Make sure when you're coloring, it doesn't go outside the line. And there was a girl, I remember her name. Her name was Alexis. And I remember her, and this was in second grade. I remember her name. I don't remember her last name, but I remember she literally made that color, right? That piece of paper that we were supposed to color, almost like immaculate. When you talk about the color of like the color pencil, you know, when you color, it still leaves like white little spots. She filled it to where there was no white showing, and it was all one shade of blue, one shade of green, or whatever it was. So you know how when you color, it's like some shades are darker, and you other sides you went a little bit darker and lighter. Her thing was perfect. And to me, I was like, is it that important? Well, to her, I guess it was, right? And I'm sharing a very completely like small story, but the reality is like when you care, it'll show. When you give a shit, it will show, and you'll see it in people's cars, how well they take care of their car, how well they take care of their shoes. Like if you can care so much about materialistic shit like that, how can you not care for you as the individual?
You're worth much, much more than all those materialistic things.
Do you get what I'm saying? It's like, hey, man, my shoes, man, keep it clean, keep it this, or whatever. I'm just like, dude, if you had half that intention or half that mindset to your own self, how much further would you be? Right.
The lack of the matter is we don't care enough.
Right, and you can see it in people's work. When people care, you'll see that they did great work, just like that coloring paper thing I told you about. But when you don't care, you'll see it. You'll see it in people writing notes whenever we have, when I post videos of whatever they're trying to learn from, or whenever I have meetings or Daniel has meetings, you'll see the difference between notes. Some look like chicken scratch, or some of them will just grab a random piece of paper and write it, and then the others will have notebooks where they're constantly looking back at.
I know you hate those loose papers.
You hear me, where I'm just like, hey, where is it? Oh, I left it at home. Or what good is it at home?
You didn't care enough to bring it today.
Right? And that's what it is, where it's like, hey, I forgot it, or I forgot it. Well, if you forget it one too many times, it's not a forget. You just don't care. That's what it comes down to. Because let me tell you something. When you leave the house with your phone, without your phone, what do?
You go back and get it.
Well, you care that much about a phone? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, we talk about it. The little things do add up, which is the same reason why that I strongly believe when you start any business or when you start any endeavor, your goal isn't big accomplishment. It's the small things. That's you. And when you can get that down, and you work on it consistently, and even when you become consistent at it, it's something you have to work on anyway, because you can lose it and you know it. You were once at a point in your life where maybe you had something that you were proud of, you stop doing it, you don't have it anymore. This is the same reason why I say like that 28 days of habit is a complete lie. You cannot build good habits in 28 days. I cannot disagree more. The idea behind, I did it for 4 weeks and now I'm this completely different person. If all it took was 4 weeks to change your life, everyone would change their lives. And it's simple. New Year's. People are going to gym for 4 weeks, or they're going to be steady in their goal, whether their business or whatever it is, for 4 weeks. That's easy. It's hard because it's an unending effort that you have to give again and again and again. And the moment you stop doing it, you'll lose it. 28 days, my ass.
It washes out. Look, even for example, the New Year's, everybody was there on the 1st in the morning. Crowded house.
Yeah,
it's Friday.
I told you, they're populating again.
They're populated. They're spawning now. But to be honest, it's true. Like, first day, everybody was there. Today, a quarter, maybe even if that, were there.
Yeah. And, dude, it's 9 days.
9 days, people falling off already.
So how are you going to tell me that they do this thing where I feel like these people that come up with these challenges, it's like, it's a challenge anyone can do. And I think if you use that 28-day mark correctly, it'll allow you to keep doing it. But the notion of when you do it steady, consistently for 4 weeks is enough to, alter the trajectory of your life is you're doing people a disservice, right? And that's the same reason why you see these people who are like, I did this challenge, that challenge. I'm like, where's the hard thing about being quote unquote successful is consistency. That's what it is. Like if I had to break down fundamental, it's consistency. It's doing shit when you don't want to, but doing like a whole bunch of like, I don't want to touch this today. I don't want to make these phone calls today. I don't want to send this proposal out today. I don't want to do anything today, or whatever the case is. It's being consistent at it day in, day out, month after month, year after year. And that's why people don't make it.
It's the hardest thing, I think, to be consistent.
No, it is. It is the hardest thing because it's true though. Like you could think about what I just said and apply that to any part of your life, any facet of your life. Think about that. Where did you fall short? Because you weren't consistent. You quit because, again, you weren't consistent. Things got hard, whether it got hard or it went well, because it's very, very easy to do well short. When you're doing well, it's easy to keep pumping. But again, life happens. Bad things happen. You have situations come up and so on. And again, like something that I learned is most people don't have actual problems. They have situations that they just need to get through.
Wow.
Right? And they think about like problem, right? You can think about it like this. With all that's going on right now, right? To some people, they lost everything, right? And you're complaining about, well, oh crap, this, like, what's going on with me? You know, I'm not where I want financially, and it's probably because your spending habits or whatever it is. But you actually have people who have died in what's going on right now. You don't think that's a problem? So when people say like, how do I get out of it? How do I do this? Like it's a situation for you. It's temporary.
There's much bigger things in the world.
And it's the same thing. In that same, I talk about problem with all these fires and people losing homes and so on, which is terrible. But in that same group of people, you also have people that are like, hey, you know what? We're going to rebuild.
You heard that story about that 90-year-old?
No, I didn't.
90-year-old man, right? Lost completely everything. His wife unfortunately passed away many years ago, but he's all he has. Uh-huh. And he said to the reporter, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'll rebuild. At 90 years old. That's crazy. Imagine having that mentality that you just lost everything that you've worked for 90 years.
Right.
And he came and told the reporter, hey, with tears in his eyes, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'll rebuild. At 90 years old.
Damn.
That makes you think. It puts it lifts the hairs on my forearms, bro. It gives me chills to think that there's people with that mentality out there in the world that they're pushed up against the wall and they still think that way with nothing going for them.
That's what I'm saying about like when people say, because in that same thing, you can talk about like, hey, that man probably has more. That's not the point we're making. It's amongst the same situation that you just dealt with. Okay, he lost his house, you lost his house, or whatever, right? We're using this as an example. But even amongst that group, you have people who are like, damn, I'm going to figure it out. It's not forever. And that's what it comes down to, where people think they're dealing with this situation and they're oh, I have a problem, which I applied this very early on in my life, where no matter how hard your life is, somebody would kill to be in your shoes.
100%.
Right? And I think the sooner you understand that, you can start snapping out of, well, I'm not a victim or this, because in any essence, like in any part of what we just talked about, it sucks. It's terrible. It's
unfortunate.
It's something that, of course, like I never want to go through, right? God willing, I never want to experience that. But when it does happen, am I prepared to just have the mentality of, hey, it's temporary, let's get out of it?
You know, with the way I see it, right? With breath in my lungs, with my heart still pounding in my chest, I'm a try to figure it out.
Yeah.
As long as I have those two things, I'll keep going. Yeah,
there's a good quote. They said that if you never quit, you'll never lose.
Wow.
Which, if you were to break that down, like Andy Frisella talks about it, Goggins talks about it, they all talk about it. How do you compete with somebody that does not quit? Right? You want to talk about boxing? Like, there was a point in my life, I think it was Rocky 1 or Rocky 2, where he's getting rocked, right? And you see him, like, he gets knocked and he comes back up, and who he's competing with, he's like, you see him get up again and he's like you could just feel that, like, when is he going to go down? Right? And if you really if you just thought about it for a second, where you said every time you not get knocked down, you're going to come back up. No matter how hard you get hit, right? If you came back up, how do you lose? Right? Because the life isn't, well, you got 14 rounds. Whoever gets knocked the most or gets hit the most is the loser. That's not life. That's not business either. It's, you're going to keep going anyway. That's why you have those guys that are super, super successful later on in their life, because they kept pushing through. And it's the same in any aspect of that time frame. But you're lucky enough to not have a countdown of, you got 2 years, and if you don't make it in 2 years, if you don't win in 14 rounds, you lost. 5 rounds, if you don't hit it, then you lose. That's not, like, we're lucky enough to just be able to say, no matter how long it takes, I can keep going.
It's tough.
Yeah.
But life's tough, right?
Everything's hard. Nothing worth having is easy. Not one thing worth having is easy. Like, I mean, think about it. You're going to have the guys that are going to sit there and tell you, well, oh, enjoy the sun, enjoy, that's free. But it's sure. But when we talk about wanting more in life, a quality of life, or what you want to give back, it's not easy. It's never going to be easy.
You know, obsessiveness, you know, I think that whole podcast in the morning that I was listening to, that was a main key focus, a key point in his career, is how much Kobe Bryant obsessed about what he was doing. Mm-hmm. He was so obsessed with it. And the reason he says that he was obsessed, he's like, I wasn't passionate, I was obsessed.
Yeah.
Is because he truly cared. Mm. He truly, in his mind, believed that he was going to win 8 championships. He won 5. But in his mind was like, man, I had 8 opportunities to win that thing, and I only won it 5 times.
Yeah.
And he came into every season punishing the guys. Why? Because he punished himself all of the off season.
Yeah.
He worked all of the off season. You know, he's one of my biggest idols. Like, I look up to that man, and you showed me the video this morning as well.
Yeah.
He took those free throws with a torn Achilles.
You know that was a shot at Paul George.
I didn't. What
You
was
know
that? No, I didn't.
Yeah, so you guys obviously have already heard the story of Kobe tearing his Achilles, and he goes to make the 2 free throws on his own and then walks out of the stadium. There's if you look at it, I don't know what game this was, but you'll see Paul George get wheelchaired out. And I think it was an Achilles injury, right? And his athletic director had an interview talking about that scenario, and he was like, that really was just a shot at him, saying, well, when this same thing happened to me, like, I fucking went out like a champ.
I walked out. I didn't get rolled out.
Yeah. And I was like, holy crap. Even amongst that time, that's what you're thinking about. It's crazy.
That's the obsessiveness. I think in order to win, we need to be obsessed with that goal in mind. We need to attack these goals with such an obsessive nature that if you don't do that task, it's almost like failing your whole goal.
Right. Like what you said earlier about I wanted to wash my car when I know you didn't want to wash your car. This is what I believe. I believe that if you just want what you want, like people say like, hey, like enjoy the hard work, like make sure you love it. Fuck no.
People, I don't know who's
I don't know who actually enjoys like getting their crap kicked in, right? But what I've come to just realize is you don't have to love that. Okay? And I think it's a damn lie if you tell people like I love getting my shit rocked. Okay? But if you want what you're after and you love that strong enough, nothing matters.
You're going to take those hits.
Exactly. And it's the same reason why you talk about parents, right? Like a mother's love, a father's love of like, no matter what, I'm going to take care of this person. Okay, well, do you think that they're going to enjoy working 3 jobs, getting no sleep? Hell no. I don't buy it. Right? But it's what the intention is. This is what I'm doing it for. That's what I keep saying. Like, don't lie to yourself. You don't. There's a lot of things you don't want to do, and I think what I've come to realize is what you just said about I wanted to wash my car. The way that I started to approach it, because I used to say that. Well, no, I wanted to. Okay. The way that I started approaching it was, I don't want to, and I know that I don't want to, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Wow.
And it's the same thing I just said, or what you said and what I said. We accomplished the same goal, but the way that my mind registered it was completely different, where I was like, yes, I didn't want to, but I did it anyway.
That's kind of like a mental switch. You're validating the idea that, I don't want to do it, but I'm going to still do it.
Exactly. And so do you talk about help? How do I start thinking about stuff like that, or whatever the case is? Something that I learned I keep saying recently, but it seems recent to me because time has flown by, right? In 2020, I learned something about how to shift mindset of, dude, I want to be out here partying, or I want to be out here with my friends, but I'm here. What I learned was if you replace the word sacrifice for investment, it makes you think about it completely different.
Wow, repeat that one more time. If
you replace the word sacrifice with investment, it hits completely different. But you have to make it, right? It's not just I said it and it feels like that. You have to consciously make that decision to be like, hey, I didn't sacrifice my Friday night to be here while my friends are partying. I invested my Friday night to be here, so later down the road, I could do whatever the hell it is I want.
Wow.
Right? So all it comes down to is this switch of how do you see things? How do you view things? Yes, I don't want to wash my whatever it comes down. There's a lot of crap I don't want to do. Especially waking up early is not something I want to do. Ever. Even when I have like a nice golf trip planned and we have to wake up early, I'm just like, oh, man. But I know this is going to be worth it. Right? That short-term gratification of if I woke up early and I drove down this direction and I got here early, great. But in that moment, it's not worth it. And it's hard because people don't get instant gratification. And that's what everyone's after. If I do it, I want it now. If I do this, I want this now. Right? But think about it. You've woken up early for what is something you woke up early for? Like a trip somewhere, or maybe.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah. Usually, it's much easier to wake up for something that's gonna have a pleasurable, or let's say a nice ending, than it is to wake up for something gritty, like a workout, for example.
But I'm saying, like, have you ever woken up early to go on a trip?
Of course.
But when you woke up, you're gonna tell me you're like, yes, or were you still like, I'm still kind of tired?
You're a little groggy, but you're kind of
exactly. That's my point. But the reason why it's easy because there's instant gratification of, well, in 4 hours, this is where I'm going to be.
In 4 hours, I'm going to be in paradise.
Right? But if you just disregarded that time frame of 4 hours, because that happens pretty soon. But if you just said, like, hey, all of this is going to pay off here, fuck it.
I kind of want to end on these points, right?
Mm.
Kind of like a rapid fire thing.
Right.
Intent.
Mm.
How do you align intent?
How do you what?
How do you align your intent?
How do I align intent? What do you mean by that?
Like, for example, how do you set intentions in your life?
What is it you want in life? Do you want to be great, or are you okay with I'm fine, good enough? Right? And again, to some people, their idea of success is different than the way that I see success, and it's going to be a different answer for a lot of people. But it's, what do you want? What do you want in your life? Are you willing to go after it? And when you understand, hey, when you make that commitment of, I'm going to go after it at all costs, there's your intent.
Second question, right? With intent, how do you know it's in the right spot? How do you know your intention is in the right spot?
Well, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes, and you might obsess on something that doesn't matter. Adjust, adapt, right? If I were to tell you everything that I did was correct, and I had to make so many U-turns and left turns and right turns and backward, like, there's a lot of decisions that I made that didn't make sense, but the intent should be, well, I'm trying to get better. If you made a decision on, I'm going to push this direction and it didn't work, admit it. You messed up. It's fine. Turn around. And I tell the guys all the time, like, hey, we're going to focus here. And I knew I made it. And later down the road, within a couple weeks or months, I'm like, it's not the right decision. Hey, guys, sorry. We're adjusting. It wasn't the right move. Right? But the intent is, again, it comes down to, what are you after? What are you after? And if you can truly grasp, like, okay, well, this is what I'm really after, then the intent will follow it. But again, it comes down to, there's a saying where people talk about commitments, okay, and intention is partly a commitment you have to make in terms of, there's things that I'm gonna do, regardless of how hard it is or how cold it is or whatever the case is. But what I've come to realize is most people can't commit to their own commitments.
That's a tough one.
It's something where it's like, hey, think about it like this, right? Is it easier to go to the gym because I'm there, I'm going to meet you there?
I'm going to say, yeah, be realistic.
Okay,
yeah.
Right. If 6 months down the line, we're going to keep doing this, right? And we've been doing it, but what I'm saying is, like, have you ever had days where you're just like, I'm by myself, never mind, I'll go later? There's
been those days.
Right? So you're committing more to me than you are committing to yourself. And this is, I'm saying this it's easier because there's other people on the line or whatever the case is, but like, I can't not miss this dinner. I already told him I was going to come. So you go even when you don't want to. So how the hell can you not do that for your own self? And that's what I realized. You can commit to anything. People can commit to anything except their own commitments. And when you realize you have to commit to your own commitments is when you're going to start seeing some level of progress.
How do you show up for yourself?
Yeah.
How does that look? How do you show up for yourself?
With what do you want in your life? It's really that. What do you want in your life? I know, like, there are things that I want beyond what I have, right? The lifestyle that I want to live, the I want to give back. Like, that's something that I've always said is like, no matter what, I want to be able to give back. Whether I have no money or a lot of money, I want to give back. You've been in my car, I always have cash in there. I never carry cash except in my car, right? And that's something that I learned. I learned that through somebody with you, where it was no matter what, I'm going to give. If I have it, I'm going to give. Even if I don't have it, I'm going to give what I can.
And that's right? A perfect relay to intent. You don't know what they're going to use that money for, but your intention is to help.
Yeah. And that's something that I asked before, where I would have this struggle where people would say, like, don't give them money. They're going to do drugs. Don't give them money. They're going to go buy alcohol. They're going to go do this. They're going to go do that. And then somebody I spoke to, he said something that really hit me. If you have that consistent thought of don't give because they're going to go do something bad with it, you're never going to give. Right? The intention behind you giving is to be able to help somebody. That's it. So give.
And don't quit.
Yeah.
Don't quit. Make sure your mental, make sure your intention is in the right spot, because if that intention is there, not even a brick wall is going to hold you back.
Yeah. Really, though. There's intent. If there's proper intent behind anything you're trying to pursue, like, as cliche as it is, there's nothing that's going to stop you. Bankruptcy, you name it. Job loss, homes lost. The man who just said, I don't know how, but I'm going to rebuild it. That's the intent. So it comes down to what are you after? I mean, anytime you ask me this, like, the same answer is, what do you want? What you want and what I want may be different. So the answer, you already know it. What do you want? And as long as you have that, like, that's your why, then you're going to push through it.
Make sure you have that why.
Yes.
In order.
Right? But this is another thing. Most people's whys or their will to win can be bought.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Too many losses, or I tried so hard and this is why, but whatever, and you keep losing. That, what your goal, like, whatever your goal is, most people, like, that can be bought. Where I know no matter what, I'm not trading my end goal for whatever it is you give me. No matter what, this is where I am. This is what I'm going to pursue. But most people, they go through these obstacles. It gets a little tough. It gets a little bit harder. And then it's like, well, maybe this is the direction for me. Which is why they live average, good lives. Right? Because it's comfortable enough. It's good enough.
Well, I don't want to say that. It's not good enough.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro.
Yes, sir. Let's get this. We're gonna attack this a day at a time, and soon you'll hear this again, and we're gonna have a name for it.
For sure. I mean, day by day, we're gonna get better and better. Hopefully, we could touch the lives of people around us. Hopefully, people could learn a little from what the conversations we're having, and hopefully the goal is one day to be talking in front of people, helping people as much as we can.
Whether I talk in front of people or not, if I can just help somebody in any way, I don't care, in any way, shape, or form. Like, I have a little folder in my phone of, like, messages that people have sent me, or DMs, or whatever it is, and it's from it's fulfilling. It's rewarding to see, like, I helped this person change this of their life, or make more money, or be a better person, or whatever it is. Like, at one point, like, what you're going to have a responsibility, whether you're at chapter 1 or chapter 20 or whatever the case is. There's going to come a point where I told Alan, there's going to come a point where you're going to be put in front of another younger you. And if you pushed hard enough, you're going to be in the position to help them. Right?
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
And I think hopefully we can help as many people as we can around us.
Yeah, we will.
Brick by brick.
One at a time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro.
Yes, sir.